All right. At the end of every episode, we talk about changing the rules. We say, let's change the rules. Let's unpack what that means to us. All right. Before we dive in, we're not therapists. We're not doctors. I need to put this into the bumper so that we don't have to say it every time. But
Yeah.
we're just two guys figuring this out, figuring out this podcast too, figuring out running businesses, growing businesses, and serving other business owners and leaders that have ADHD. All right, Caleb, we're talking about changing the rules today, and you've told me a couple of stories. But one, you were telling me about cheating while playing capture the flag. Um, so walk us through that.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And this is part of what we were talking about, just an observation that I've deemed the cornucopia strategy or the cornucopia play. And, we talk about cornucopias, like try spelling that word. It's going to give you a hard time. Like when I wrote it out, I'm like, have I been saying this incorrectly for all of my life? It looks like it's supposed to be cornucopia because it's a U there. It's like cornucopia or like, I don't know. You try to say it with like a deep Southern, like cornucopia or something like
Yeah,
just a goofy
don't read
word.
words. As soon as you start reading words, you like don't know how to say them. It's like Worcestershire. Like I used to know how to say Worcestershire sauce. I saw the word on the label one time, and it's like it's gone. It's gone.
Yeah. Any of those like New England towns you go to, like, oh, this is like Chestershire, that's Gloucester. Nope, that's yeah, it gets weird quickly. So yeah, cheating playing capture the flag. All these summers growing up, I'd go down to there's this state park in Delaware called Cape Henlopen, and it's these like beautiful pine lands and the beach, like right where the ocean meets the bay. But it used to be home to this huge army base, and it was these like massive artillery cannons just hiding underneath in the sand dunes in these bunkers, basically just to protect Philadelphia and the gunpowder industry in Wilmington from Nazi attack. It was built just before World War II, and they actually got to use them like once on a U-boat out there. They got to surrender. Really cool, just at the end of the war. Like they would shoot artillery shells bigger than cars today out of these boats that were caught. So fascinating place. But I'd go there every year as a kid for this camp, and we just play hours of capture the flag because it was a World War II themed camp. I mean, this history
Yeah.
nerd absolutely ate that up. But I realized something pretty quickly. I was overweight. I was clinically obese by the time I was 12. Not like morbidly, but definitely technically. And asthmatic, and looking back now, knowing what I know about my neurotype being both Asperger's and ADHD, like there was no way if I tried to like run through the middle of the
Yeah,
line,
you weren't
go
doing the hero play, like
there's
carrying
no
the American flag, running through as the hero. Yeah.
gosh, my like lack of coordination, my reaction time, my ability to outrun anybody, none of that was there. So I realized pretty quickly if I want to have any chance possible of winning this, I really need to take a different approach here. I need to change the game instead of just running through the middle. And so I set out to really figure what were the boundaries of the map that I was playing on, or this area. And it would kind of differ
Yeah.
sometimes. Like you'd literally be around these old historic artillery cannons or mini bunkers. It was so cool.
Yeah.
And I would like go all the way to the edge of the map as possible and like hide, crawl, army crawl, whatever. Sometimes, yes, I would cheat and go a little bit completely outside of it. One time I went through like an office building holding water. It was like, I need to win this
Stop
game.
at the water fountain, get a little drink. Hey, Sarah, walk on out.
Exactly. Yeah, they're like, "What is this kid doing?" This like 10-year-old boy. And so then
I just imagine an
imagine
episode of The Office where you come walking through with your like paintball gun or whatever.
like
Anyway,
Dwight would be just very confused about it. And so the point is, I would show up somewhere along the back of the lines, and I would have like a while to look for the flag before anybody would see me because nobody's guarding it. Nobody thinks anybody's back there. And you arrive at a place that the enemy is under prepared. There's no competition. It's uncontested. And if you arrive there over prepared, then that's when you win. That's when I would grab the flag and ideally just retreat right back into the shadows I came from and make it back over to my base and win. Occasionally I'd get caught and you'd have to like run for it. I'd lose or,
yeah, I
that's
thought
how.
as you're explaining that, I was thinking like X-Men, Nightcrawler. I don't know if you're familiar, but he's the one that's like he's over here, and also he's like, poof, poof, and he like shows up over here, and it's like that's what it looks like to everybody else. Like all of a sudden, they're like, "Wait, how'd Caleb get? Where'd he come from?"
I think, where how does that dude get over here? It's like
Who
wheezing as
is
he's
that
running
guy?
away. Yeah, it was always super fun. And airsoft, I did that too with a sniper and a ghillie suit. And but so I realized that as a kid, and then as I looked further along in life, there were just different times when that pattern showed up in business and elsewhere, that the same exact features were present. Like I noticed a market that was underserved. There was a lack of competition there, and then I just dove into it at first, kind of without checking with anybody else to say like,
Yeah.
oh, is this a good fit or not? Like, no, I see an opportunity, and we have to take a sideways approach. So I call it the cornucopia play, because like we all can think about the Hunger Games, right? That's the only thing besides
Yeah.
Thanksgiving that triggers the word cornucopia in our brains. Yeah,
That and, spelling tests, apparently, because we would fail.
yeah, 100%. 100%. And so like I've only ever seen the one Hunger Games movie. It was pretty good. Nothing against it. I just haven't gotten around to seeing the others. And
Because, kids, you don't have time to watch movies when you have kids.
oh my gosh, yeah, they're coming out my ears over here. I think I hear one actually now. And
I love it, man. Kids are part of life.
so yeah, dude, they're a huge blessing. They're a huge blessing. But so the first Hunger Games movie, right? You get all the different tribute people from all their different places that they're coming from, and they're trying to battle it out to see who survives. And the only people who, what is it, like one or two are allowed to survive at the very end of it, from like
Yeah,
a
it's supposed to be
given,
one. Yeah. Yeah.
right? It's one. And so there's this cornucopia right where everybody starts, just full of all these weapons and survival gear and stuff, and everybody just runs for it except for Katniss. She looks at it, she sizes it up and says, whoever wins this is very likely to win the whole thing. However, the odds of winning this are so low, the odds of mortality here are ridiculously high. I have a better chance at outright survival if I just go run the opposite way, right into the woods, take my chances there, just try to outlast and then sneak up on people
Yeah.
eventually over time. And that's what wound up doing it. But
Yeah. Real quick,
yeah,
can I interrupt? Kind of say something that like dawned on
oh,
me. Yeah.
dude, yeah,
Um,
totally. Let's unpack
so
this.
as you're explaining that cornucopia, like in the Hunger Games, the idea is Katniss had a long term goal that didn't match other people's short term goals. Like if her long term goal is to survive, which I think everybody probably they were like trying to win or whatever, but they're all trying to survive. So they dive into the mess because it's like I got to get a weapon so that I can survive. And she's like, yeah, so that's not that pit stop isn't actually on my path, you know. And I think that for so many of us, like you were mentioning earlier, the same thing with, anytime you play capture the flag, that messy middle where everybody just kind of attacks and runs and everything, you go, that actually doesn't work for me. I'm going to just kind of come over here in the shadows, barely outside. I've been places where it's like they got the floodlights on this space where you're playing at night and you're like, how can I skirt just under the floodlights? Actually, I'm thinking of like all of the movies and everything that I love. Man, all those like great action films where they're like walking around, along the fence under the line, and you're like,
Oh,
surely this multi-million-dollar facility would know that their light was not shining on the edge. Um, but anyway,
right.
so back in, you're talking about that finding this path where you go, um, I want something. The path that somebody laid in front of me, the one that is the popular one, the one that is that everybody's doing, you just kind of look and go, yeah, that didn't fit. Like,
Right. Yeah. You just figure out like this isn't going to work for me. Maybe this is going to work for somebody else, but it's not going to be my path to success there. And that's not to have necessarily a self doubt attitude to be like, I don't know if I can really pull this off unless I do this other approach
yeah,
here. I feel like that's a bad way of looking at it. There's a much more positive way to say, I'm really competitive. I really want to win this thing, but the odds are just so low. Like if any kind of loss is unacceptable, maybe this is a different reframing. So like when you look at the stakes of something, losing in the Hunger Games means you die. That's an unacceptable stake.
yeah,
Like it's not just that you want to win, it's that you want to avoid failure. And I think in business, like what even is winning at the end of the day? Like most people really can't define that. But I think defining losing is a little bit easier. You can say, all right, losing means going broke, losing my house, losing my family because of the
yeah,
stress that I just put them
yeah.
through,
Can't,
whatever that
can't
is.
feed kids. Yeah,
Exactly. And if you're looking for ways to try and minimize the chances of failure, taking that really oblique angle into whatever you're doing, showing up unexpected in an over prepared way, like, I mean, that's classic military strategy
Yeah.
too. I think we talked a little here at the start. I I used to go to back in high school. It was a full time junior ROTC school. I was on path to go to Naval Academy. That was what I wanted to do. I have no
So
idea how the
you were
frat
in
guys
with the
got
ladies. You were in with the ladies, right? Yeah.
with the I don't I don't think I talked to any. And still, that list is very small for me. It's my wife and 3 daughters. But
I'm just teasing you. I'm sorry.
no, you're good. But really though, that was where I wanted to go. But I made some changes one summer. Decided I wanted to be a pastor, and came back and was like, "Hey, I know I'm like top 5 in my class on this trajectory to go to the academy. Listen, give that opportunity to somebody else. I don't want a role in the regimental command structure this year. Pass that to somebody else." And that happened. But then by the time I ended at school, even though that was still the path that I was on, was saying like I want to go into the ministry, not the military. I wound up somehow getting ranked 13th in the 530 student regiment, but in a like totally different thing that nobody else wanted. They're just like, Caleb, can you do this for us? Like, can you come be the public affairs officer guy? And I did the announcements every day. I welcomed like senators, governors, like all kinds of crazy people to the
How
school, and,
much
and got
like
to,
you explain this? No, this is
yeah,
everybody listen. This is the second time I've heard this, and I'm still like, this is amazing. So what's funny is you took a different path.
yeah,
You're like, and you got to do all this other just wild stuff that probably was better for your brain anyway. Like you got to meet these really cool people, all these stories, you had all these great experiences that you wouldn't have had if you were just in line, right?
100%. And there's none of
So
that
then
under the
the other
gun
thing
crap.
is, yeah, and you went out of line and did this weird stuff over here, and then at the end of the day, you showed up and people were like, "Wait a minute, where'd this guy come from?" Just like
Yep.
on Capture the Flag, just all of a sudden you're top ranking in the top again, and they're like, "Wait a minute, where'd this guy come from?" You're over here doing your weird thing and just show up. And so here's a question for you. I don't even know if you remember this. If you think back when you were doing the hard work in line to climb the ranks and everything, and when you did the weird job with public affairs and everything, and then you just ended up at the front of the line, which one felt harder?
Oh my gosh, the corporate grind,
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, trying to go be a platoon leader, then a battalion leader, regimental commander. That was just a big grind. You always had to be on point. You always had to be perfect. There was no room for creative freedom, creativity, production, whatever.
yeah,
But going to be a public affairs officer at the battalion level, like, hey, nobody really does this. And I showed up there like, I want to do a really great job of this. And then that's how I got the regiment role. And then
that's
I
awesome.
like I basically changed the game on how
Yeah.
that role was conducted henceforth. Like the announcements were just a really drab thing for a long time, and I twisted them up, made them fun. I did the
Oh,
whole Robin Williams "Good Morning
yes.
Vietnam"
Good morning,
thing.
Vietnam. That's what I was going to ask. Love it.
Literally, yeah. The school initials were DMA, Delaware Military Academy.
Yeah.
And I would just shout it into the microphone there a couple days later. Good morning. And it was like 7:30
Nice.
a.m.
Okay, so not
Yeah,
nice, but that's great.
yeah,
Okay,
not 100%.
so
People loved it though.
I have a couple. Man, my brain is running so many things. Like,
Yeah,
first off, I just keep imagining you like just like walking through an office building playing Capture the Flag. But so I want to thinking back on business. I have a couple ideas where I was thinking the idea of following the rules that the way that they're laid out for everybody else. I think neurotypicals are drawn toward the if you do this, it will work. They're drawn toward that systematic way that things work, cause and effect, just constant cause and effect, to where we need more experimentation in what we're
mm,
doing. And sometimes the right way, the system for us, is one that takes us out of the way, that takes us on a different path so we can figure out something. We actually learn a little bit more about ourselves as we go. In one way that, like an example that I have used in my coaching business now and consulting right now, is when I was on LinkedIn. I was trying to figure out how to grow my LinkedIn presence more. I wanted more followers. I wanted to engage with more people. And it just, one of my friends, Paul, introduced me to this concept of micro weirds.
hmm.
He's like, don't share your macro weirds because that scares people. But what are the micro weirds? What are the little nuanced things that if people saw 3 of them together, they would know it was you.
Hmm.
And he said, what happens if, so we talked about it, it's like, take your micro weirds a little bit public so people start to recognize you. They start to see it. What are the things that you do that are you? What are the things that, and I started thinking, what are the things that I did that were disruptive, the things that I was known for that were problematic? And I thought in school, I was always doodling and sketching because it kept my hands busy. So I wasn't bothering other people. So I was the kid who sat in the back of the room, I doodled and made snarky comments. Like that was kind of my space. Um, and then like you, it's like I did that and I graduated college summa cum laude. Like I graduated college perfectly because I didn't participate. Like I sat in the back, like I knew how to not stand out in the wrong ways, but I knew how to get to where I needed. Well,
Yeah.
same thing in business. Well, I'm sitting at LinkedIn and I realize, hey, how do I stand out on LinkedIn? How do I let my micro weird show up? And I just didn't have anything to post. I went on this, challenge thing where it's like, oh, we're going to post every business day for the next month or something. And I had nothing to post. And I just was like, I don't know anything about like nothing businessy today, guys, but I doodled this and I took a picture and I posted my doodle. And that thing like was one of my first to take off. Another one was, hey, I didn't feel like working and I went and jumped in this puddle. And it's a video of me just like jump squats splashing in a puddle like I'm a toddler. And that thing blew up. And I was like thousands of people like interacting with that thing. And I'm like, okay, so that was my first like win on LinkedIn. And then the doodle took off. And I was like, wait a minute. The more things that I actually do about what I like and I enjoy, and I can put comments on there. So I started doodling. And now I've done it a couple times where I do 31 days of doodles and I take the number and I just make a doodle. I turn that number into a dinosaur, a robot, something like that, and I just post them. And those things have blown up my following on LinkedIn. I have way like thousands more people just start following me when I put those out there. They have nothing to do with what I'm actually trying to do, but it gives me access to more people and it gives me into more conversations and it kind of breaks the algorithm because I'm not following the rules the way that businesses tell us to, you know? It's like I'm the guy who shows up and doodles on LinkedIn. Like,
Yeah.
I need to do another round of it, honestly, coming up. But it's like that has worked really well for me. I've met so many people um, through that and through connections, and then knowing, the second connections, and it's drawn more people in. Had tons of conversations with really interesting people, hearing their stories, gotten business out of it. Even I've even been brought in at events to teach people how I doodle to calm my mind. And I've taught that. I've done groups, and I've actually created some small books that people can get where it's just like how to doodle, how to the science behind calming your brain so you can be more present. Um, all stuff I learned from my grandpa when I was a little kid. But anyway, that's just another weird example where it's like, well, this is what I do on LinkedIn, and it's like it worked. I wasn't necessarily I knew what I wanted to grow, but when I saw it working, I ran the experiment. When the experiment worked, I took it to a month long scale, and then I've run that month a couple times now. Um, so think of that. Think of like if you're trying to get exposure, if you're trying to get in front of other people, if you're trying to get behind people, if you're trying to like if there's a gauntlet at work that you're trying to get through, like growing your business or whatever. One of my favorites is just pay somebody else. Like if you can figure out a way to like have somebody else do it so it does, so you don't have to like the legal or some the taxes planning. Like let's if you can pay somebody to keep you out of jail, do it. Like you will be happier. Your kids will enjoy the evening with you more if you don't have to do your own taxes. Um,
Yeah.
so to bring this back in, a couple things. So I talked about a way that I have used it for getting work. As far as doing work,
Mm.
yeah, the path of just like, can you do it different ways? Another example I ask people is like, what part of your work is expected? And there's a book called Unreasonable Hospitality.
Mm.
And I think when you're delivering work, what parts of it are a low experience for you and your client? And which ones are just a mundane experience? And you think, can I remove stuff? Can I give it to somebody else? Like, how can you make that experience better just by taking a different path? Um, I think that would be a quick way to look at it. And then obviously getting paid and stuff, I just say automate that because it's junk. Like
Yeah.
chasing money is not, nobody wants to live there. Unless that is your business, I guess if you're a collection agency or something. But then I'm sitting here thinking growing wealth, what is a way that we could use this cornucopia um,
Mm,
play and go, everybody else is running here. Um, I'm looking at going, okay, Bitcoin, everybody ran there and that didn't turn out so well.
yeah.
Another thing, when we're looking at investment and growing our wealth, what are some things that instead of like running in, some things that we could do where we go, okay, maybe we step back and we look to the side.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, we talked about this cornucopia game. Like, you're looking ahead and say there's just a bloodbath here, high likelihood of losing, and if failure is unacceptable, then where are we at, right? So it's not even that we're trying to win necessarily. We're trying to give a probably better chance of winning, but really lowering your chances of losing, right? If I'm understanding how
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
are batting this around correctly. And so obviously, if we're looking at growing wealth, what's the way to like win biggest? You look at the hedge funds on Wall Street and how the billionaires who own those made their money. It's interesting. Most of them have underperformed the stock market over and over and over again. Like Warren Buffett has bet many of them lots of money years and years on end. These famous, very publicized bets. He said, "I'm just going to put some money in the S&P 500, and we're going to see how it does against your hedge fund." And he's won plenty of times. The difference is those guys got as rich as they did from running the businesses of investing other people's money to get
yeah.
into that. But then they took that, they made one leveraged bet. That's usually it for all of them. They just got really lucky one time. They like bought Amazon for $1 a share in like the early 90s, right? Or
But
they
like Intel at $1, yeah.
Bitcoin back in like 2012 or something. Yeah, exactly. And they happen to use like a ton of leverage when they did it. They borrowed a bunch of money to buy this
Yeah.
thing, and then it went to the moon, and then they just really cashed out of it. And then they've just been investing off of that money plus their business revenue forever. And that's really the story of it for most of them. So I would look at that as like the pinnacle of the cornucopia.
Yeah.
If
So
you're
I would
that
say
like,
I can't do that because my
no,
kids need to eat and I really like having a house. So
yeah,
if I'm not
I don't,
gonna steal somebody's money, borrow their money, leverage it, take a huge gamble, roll the dice, what is the cornucopia play?
exactly. I don't need a billionaire. I just need to not be broke at the end
Yeah.
of the day. I don't need to be a billionaire. I just need to not go broke. And how you look at that, obviously everybody talks about the S&P 500 and index funds. And I think that that's a really great start if you're looking before that at more of a Robin Hood type play, or that's not to say anything bad. I actually happen to love the platform and what it's done for the industry. Just the meme stock trading frenzies that have been so popular there, kind of through not too much fault, a little bit of fault of its own, but more by what happens over on Reddit. You think of 5 years ago, the GameStop, AMC, BlackBerry. Today it's crypto and AI. Back in the 1920s, it was anything attached to the radio. So like RCA was the
Yep.
Nvidia of its day back then, before the Great Depression hit. It's always been something. There's always been some kind of massive shiny object bubble. Like pets.com in the year 2000, AOL, you name it. Any of these, there's been different seasons, different things. I'd say number one, contrarian based investing. So being contrary to the group consensus around this is the hot thing that's going to propel itself
Hmm.
to this dollar amount or percentage gain or whatever. Um, but so just taking it's not really a contrarian play, strictly speaking, of just going with the market, right? If you just say, I'm going to get away from all that
Yeah.
speculative, active
You know,
management, stock
yeah.
picking.
Real quick, you're saying like I don't think it's so much that we're being contrary, like we're running away from it, or we're being like against it, like we're not being combative. It's just one of the things that our brains do is something's happening and we look up and we go, "What about that?" Like you're saying, be open to the what about that's. I'll tell you,
Yeah.
one of my friends pulled a like a bunch of a good chunk of his retirement money and said, okay, I'm not going to invest it in stocks and everything that everybody else does. What he actually did is he started investing in storage facilities. Now, I personally, I'm not okay investing in storage facilities because I'm like, I just have this thing where it's like we're putting boxes because people have too much stuff, so that bothers me. I don't feel okay with that. Same thing. Anyway, there's lots of things that just personally I'm like I don't know that I want to support that. Um, but he did this, and it has. He started in man. I mean, it was like he's probably pushing 15, 16 years now. In He started with some. multifamily housing, like apartment complexes that were getting like refreshed, like they were getting, cleaned up and everything, and then the storage units. That's kind of where a lot of his investment went. And let's just say at the time people laughed at him. And I'll say he's doing okay. Um
Yeah.
he last time I talked to him, we had to have a really short call because he was getting in his helicopter. Um like that's how okay he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah, because he did stuff that other people laughed at
Yeah.
years prior.
And
I mean,
with
that,
with ADHD, we tend to be more risky. We don't feel the risk the way other people do. So I hear what you're saying is like, hey, be willing to look and see the other things. Don't ignore them because other people are. If you have question, look at it. But at the same time, how would you advise somebody who maybe is looking at a thing and going, hey, nobody's heading that direction? Because a lot of times I look at it and think, I have to remind myself, okay, is there a reason nobody's heading that direction?
mhm,
Are they just all heading this direction because that's where somebody said to go? Or is nobody heading that direction because they know there's a cliff over there that I don't know about?
right.
So how would you advise, like, say me or somebody with ADHD were coming in going, hey, well, I ate this burrito and I want to invest in like all such gas stations because they have really great burritos. Like, whatever the thing, whatever weird idea we're fixated on or we're thinking, how would you advise somebody to just like think through that and make sure that they're balancing the idea of chasing your mind, your brain,
Yeah.
but not but regulating a little bit.
Yeah, I tend to let people have a sandbox, roughly 5% of the portfolio. If they want it, they can just play around there. That's where their crypto can go. That's where whatever kind of speculative trade they
Yeah,
want to do. If they want to do options, they want to do a little bit of margin, go right ahead. I'm not going to do
yeah.
that for
It's
them.
it's
Frankly, I'd have to pay a lot more on my errors and emissions insurance policy if I did do options
you
margin
gotcha.
for them. It tells you about the nature of those products, right? It
Yeah.
tells you about the risks
So
there.
it's it's kind of like the science lab. They say, oh yeah, I'm gonna sit over here. This is where they get to tinker. This is where they get to experiment. Or
Right.
even if you think about kids growing up, like we had to sit still in a box a lot of time, but then think about how much science and even math and stuff we actually learned on the playground.
Oh
Like,
my word.
I mean, I knew a lot about gravity before we learned about it in school. Like, I had fallen a lot of times, and I knew that when you drop something, like, it's going faster at the end. Like, because I never lived in a vacuum. But the idea of, like, I knew how things worked because I had lived it a little bit. And I hear kind of what you're saying is like, if you have you said the sandbox, it's this idea where if you have a plan to say, yeah, risk and splash and do fun stuff right here and figure it out,
Yeah.
like,
In a way that's
enjoy
not
that.
going to blow up your situation.
But at the same time, you know that future you still has this. Now, if you're playing and something goes fun, I know in business, I tell people this all the time, especially with a product, test something. Let's test the market. Let's see how it goes. If you're playing and you figure out something and it's working, then are you kind of talking to them and going, well, yeah, you had 5% and that 5% just became 8%. Like, that's catching your eye, right? You're going, wait a minute. Let's keep it up. Like, maybe we make our sandbox a little bigger this time.
That's a constant battle. So many people I've talked to, they have so much NVIDIA, and it's like a half of their overall portfolio, but it started as 10%. And they're like, oh, I don't know. I feel like I should have been dumping more into this all along. Like, maybe that would have worked, but I think there's all kinds of reasons that is not going to
Well,
be amazing going forward unless it's
when
really great.
one comment that I heard somebody make the other day, I was in a group of ADHD business owners and we were talking about like um, productization, like coming up with a product. Here's a new product. And somebody's like, man, this product is really doing well. I feel like I should have been doing this. I wasted all my time and energy, all my resources on the other stuff, and I should have done this one. And the guy was like, but how many products have you killed along the way? Because this guy had been in business for 20 years. And it's like, how many products didn't make it? He goes, well, why didn't you go all in on one of those early on? It was kind of that idea where it's like, yeah, we still have to prove it. It's just, we are very quick to forget about the things that didn't prove.
Yeah.
And then when something does work, it's exciting, man. We blow up like hotter and faster than anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I guess just to tether back a little bit to like specifically if you're trying to grow wealth with the ADHD brain, with the cornucopia strategy, like running away from just again what I'd call like the really speculative stuff that's popular out there to buy. Most people's portfolios that I look at for the first time, different prospects or just one-off reviews, people have way too much exposure to the S&P 500, which is just the biggest 500 companies in the
Yeah.
country, which gives them a massive over concentration to big tech, AI, just really frothy stuff, quite frankly.
Right.
And if you look back over the last 100 years, the biggest winning category in all of the stock market is small cap value, which nobody guesses.
So define
Like,
this, because
yeah,
I don't even know
this
what that means.
the small cap value is just like the tiny companies that are still publicly traded, but they're like the smallest ones that are out there available for anybody to buy, not like your
So
local gas station
yeah.
or whatever.
So I
But
would say this goes back to your cornucopia play where it's like
mhm,
it's the small guys that are skirting the system. Nobody's
mhm,
watching them, and they're just
nobody.
walking down the field, getting ready to grab the flag. So what I hear you
Yeah,
saying is, if you're in the game and you're looking around, like maybe don't watch the heroes. Know where the heroes are. Know where like the big athletes. Know where those players are on the field. Like look up and see them, but look for that scrappy guy on the outside and go, "Hey, I'm gonna watch these scrappy guys." Because
correct.
the other thing is, if you think of like supply and demand, if
Hmm.
everybody's screaming about the big guys right in the middle of the field, then their prices are gonna get run up.
Oh
And
my
then
gosh,
the
yeah.
quiet guys that are just walking down the sideline, like nobody's looking to buy those, maybe, and you go, "Hey, I want some of that."
Yeah, you watch Microsoft in the middle of the field, but then watch the guy who is helping them build all the data centers to house the AI
Yeah.
projects on the side.
Well,
It's
that's one of
yeah.
I have a client that I really just love working with, and one of the things like they are in the construction industry working with data centers, like
Mm,
helping build data centers and stuff like that, and it is just really cool to see them because they are um, reaping the rewards of being a part of this massive wave that's happening, but they're not in the spotlight and they're not in the crosshairs. You
yeah.
know what I mean? It's like I'm like I joke. I'm kind of like, man, they're like crushing Mondays and Saturdays. Like this is so cool for them.
Yeah, they get to go to the golf course and not be hated by other people. You're the ones building
Yeah.
that data center, right?
Well, I mean, even the fact it's like it's already. Anyway, I see what you're saying. I like this idea of the
Yeah.
cornucopia thing because it's like look for in investments and in business opportunities. Know where the
Mhm.
big players. Know where everything's happening. Like don't be completely oblivious, but at the same time, like be aware. We have ADHD. We're always seeing the things that are flying around. The bugs that are over there. We're seeing the cars that are going. I had to close my curtain earlier because I was like, it was trash day and like everybody's like things are flying. You know, people are driving by all the time and stuff. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't focus. Um,
Yeah.
wow, that was the
Yeah.
most ADHD ramble ever about ADHD.
Yeah.
So use our ADHD. Be aware of what's happening in the surroundings. Look to the periphery. Like look out there and say, what's skirting? What's going down the side? You know, I love
Right.
that.
And just take a diversified approach. I think that's what's missing. Even though it's old school conventional wisdom, most people are just way
Mm-hmm.
too heavily concentrated in their investments these days, and it's going to inhibit their ability
Yeah.
to grow wealth over the coming decades. When if you look at last year, just as proof positive, the emerging markets, so that's like your India, Indonesia, Vietnam, places like that, they returned something like 36% when the S&P only did 14% last year.
Man. So
And small
um,
cap did really well also.
here's okay. I got another example. Actually, a financial example from our life. So there was this company that our kids, when our oldest son was young, we were looking for bikes because we did live in Europe for a while, and it was just kind of like different lifestyle modes of transportation. So we came back to Texas, and we wanted to bike more as a family, move around our town on bikes. And people did like there were people who knew us as the biking family for a while. But our oldest was learning to ride a bike, and we found this company called Voom. It's WOOM. It's like some German brothers who were like engineers, and they redesigned a bike not to be we're going to take an adult bike and make it smaller for kids, but they actually did the measurements and redid all of the angles, so kids learn to ride a bike, but they're sitting straight upright. They're not leaning forward; they're upright, and then they can steer without having to move anything below their shoulders, right? They can actually just steer just using their kind of elbows and stuff. Um, and so we found this company, we liked them, and they were like, hey, we're looking for investors, but we want to go to our customers first and see if we can raise the funds to, do this new factory type thing, almost a Kickstarter, but investor like own shares in the company type thing. And we were like, I mean, we looked at the doc. I mean, they put everything together because they were looking to get capital investment, but they didn't want to give away that percentage of the company to get the investment. So they just turned around and said, "Hey, you guys love this. Um, what if we didn't get a big guy involved who's going to try? We're afraid that they're going to break what we've built. They're going to try and make money off of this instead of make bikes that make kids love biking." And
Wow.
that's the approach they took. And we took it as like, this can't fail. So we took a portion, our risky bucket, and said, yeah, we're in. So we did that. And here's the thing. They gave us the projections of like a 7-year investment or something like that, right? Where they're like, this is what we project. As long as our plan holds and we go, this is what we project that we're going to have. Um, well, they ended up getting to the point where it's like, I think it was like 3 years in or something like that. They were done. They could actually buy back all of our shares, pay us all what they owed us. So what they projected that they were hoping to pay us at the 7 year, it was like 3 or 4 years in. So like in
Wow.
less than half the time, because they went a different route, their different route got more people interested in what they were doing. And then we had more skin in the game to like tell everybody about the bikes and everything as well. And then it was like, I mean, still all of our kids, that's still the brand of bikes that we use. Um, but it just got, you see, like they took a different path, and then we took a different path of our investing. And then the fact is, it came back. I mean, it was an aggressive plan that they had. It was like, on 7 years, it's going to return this, and I'm like, well, that's better than anything else we're doing. And then it
Yeah.
came back in half that time. They were able to turn around. So it was like it worked out really well for us. But again, back to what you said earlier, we had a sandbox that we were willing to
Mhm.
risk. It wasn't everything. We didn't bet the farm, we didn't bet the farm. We might have bet that like the farm door, but that was kind of. But it was just that idea where they were doing something different, and I mean, we looked at it, we believed in them, and we were like, this can't fail. Like, there's no. We had seen how the product worked, how it affected us, um, and we did a weird thing because it was like nobody else at the time, our age, was like, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and invest in a company.
Right.
Like
Nobody
that
else is
wasn't a
doing private
thing.
equity deals like that. Well,
Yeah,
and honestly, that's its whole other category. I didn't mention because I was trying not to go too deep into the
yeah.
nerd weeds on finance, which is way too easy for me. But specifically, private equity, there's been so many of those companies that have just crushed the stock market. Like, I don't know about the returns that you got from them, but I would not be surprised to hear that at all, that it beat what the public market did.
It was, uh, yeah, it was amazing. So all that what I want to say is, depending on the part of your business, remember we talk about externalizing. Like, how much can you take and just get out of your own mind, out of your own emotions? Like, what can we put out there and work on it as an external thing? And with money, it's the same thing. And this idea of having a plan, having some that's safe, and working the system, the plan that is more calculated, and then how much can you experiment? Can there be the fun part over here? Can you do wild things that you just believe in and you don't know why? Because with ADHD, there are times that we are right. We know that we're right. You can't convince us that we aren't right, but we don't have any proof. It's just
Right.
it's right. It's the only thing that makes sense. And it's hard for me to gamble on that a lot with a wife and family, kids and everything in tow. But at the same time, there's this phrase, I've seen me do it,
Hmm.
where I trust my intuition and like my pattern recognition more than I do other people's.
Yeah.
Um, so there are times that I look at something and I go, this always happens. Or, the last 30 times this has happened. I'm feeling pretty good about this, like I
Yeah.
feel that, but I won't gamble everything. But if I have that space, whether finances or in my business, even like product, um, if I have a new product or a new service, it's hard to not burn everything down and jump on this new idea that has all of the dopamine flowing. It's all the novelty. Oh, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do like I'm all in on this, and people are like a lot of times we will chase that, but that idea of having the system that you can trust and almost ignore,
Hmm.
because like with our finances, it's like we go a quarter to sometimes depending on how we're busy and how things are going, sometimes a full year ignoring what's happening because the system is playing out. And it's like my wife keeps more tabs on it. And if we don't need to talk about it, it just keeps rolling. And we
Yeah.
have our meeting where we go, oh yeah, everything, we still know where everything is. But there are some more fun things. It's like, okay, well, maybe we tinker this. Maybe we try this. We have our science lab over here doing stuff. Okay.
And I think it's
I love
huge
this
to have a good
cornucopia
partner
thing.
for that too. Yeah, like I always encourage that for clients. I think that's something I hear consistently when people come over to me is like, my old advisor always laughed when I asked about different things, or he said that it was going to be too complicated, too risky, too high chance of failure. Like, if you don't try it, you're never going to know if it works. If you never try to invest in the boom bikes,
Yep.
then how would you ever get the reward from it, right? Like you have to have somebody who's willing to not even just laugh at you, but to sit there and help you analyze the deal and say, yeah, I think this could make sense, and on occasion jump into something with you too.
Yeah.
I've seen that play out
And
plenty of times.
we use the word what if a lot,
Hmm.
because it takes out a lot of the arguments or that shame and that like judgmental parts of it where you say, well, what if we do this? Well, then when you create the sandbox, what happens? Like I say, hey, what if I do this crazy thing? And you go, well, what if we take this portion into the science lab? Everything else we keep running as we know it is, and we experiment with the beta test.
Hmm.
And that idea of as long as we stay curious and lean into the what if, well, what if, then it's safe. But as soon as, it's like, well, no, as soon as they like start shutting stuff down, then that's the point where first off, we don't like it. And if you're a service provider and you're working with people that like, they should enjoy working with you. They shouldn't
Oh
dread
yeah,
having a conversation with you.
he's just gonna shoot down all my fun
Yeah.
ideas again. That's not
It's
cool.
like, oh, it's like going to detention. I'm going to the principal's office again. Oh, he's going to tell me about my money.
Well,
um,
that's
all
literally
right.
what they frame us against. Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I guess just to wrap it up, I'd say
yep,
like these things are probably things that you're doing already if you're neurodivergent. There's a fair chance that you've already been on the outside of a crowd for most of your life and unable to really see a path forward to competing, whether that's a social hierarchy, becoming the popular, the whatever type of kid you were trying to back in the day. Like you naturally likely taken some of these oblique paths to success here, or you've turned around from the cornucopia and run the other way because you found there was a better way that you could do.
yep,
I would just say tune into that more. Recognize that as one of your neurodivergent superpowers, the pattern recognition, the outsiderness of it, and the ability to just pivot, implement, make it up as you go along, and find some really good successes.
yeah, I love it. Couple things right there. I love what you said, Caleb. I just want to, for listeners, hey, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening with us. This podcast is an example of us just going, what if? And then we took like a hard left and ran around the outside of stuff. And we want to invite you in, reach out to us. We'd love to hear conversations. We'd love to hear how you've maybe taken paths around. Like, what have been your cornucopia plays? So as you're thinking, look ahead. If there's an opportunity where you're looking ahead or you're planning, and maybe the path ahead that others have prescribed or what looks like the standard path, if it doesn't fit, maybe look up, turn left, look. Maybe there's something skirting the outside of the bounds. Um, Maybe look up and see it, consider it. Not saying do it, but consider it and allow yourself to consider it because that is how we are wired. And then also, as we're wrapping up, I want you to have a very vivid image of Caleb running through an oatmeal colored taupe office building between cubicles. Some old lady is there getting, her little bloop bloop water machine. Somebody standing over here at the Keurig. He's got his air rifle, whatever. And he just comes sprinting through there, carrying a red flag, coming back with it. Just remember, that's what your business can look like. You can have that moment. And people are like, what on earth is that guy doing? He's winning. That's what he's doing. He's winning.
They're not sure if he's supposed to be there. He's playing it cool. He's just kind of walking normally and trying not to make eye contact. And yeah, that can be you too. You too can have that amazing moment where you're like, I know the game I'm playing. Other people just don't get it, but I'm going to win, baby.
I love it. All right. Anything else? Sign off?
That's all I got.
All right. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your mom. We'd
Tell your
love
mom's
moms
friends.
listening to us. And yeah, just remember, it's your business. Change the rules, capture the flag.